All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am here with Miss Kandace Stewart here for the M Made Me. Candace, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's a beautiful
Well,
Sunday.
it is a beautiful Sunday. The night we finally get some nice weather, but that does mean that the pollen is out, so
Oh
allergies
yeah,
are about to be popping.
for sure.
Um, so once I want to thank you for set aside some time to talk to us about your journey and how the city of Memphis has played a role in your journey. So for the people that don't know, tell us about Candace Stewart.
Oh, where do I start? So yeah, born and raised here in Memphis. The ever important question, where did you graduate? Went to Overton High School. Was in Kappa Dance. Went to the University of Memphis. Graduated from there 3 times. Got my undergrad, marketing management, and then I went to law school and did the JD MBA program. Um, Practiced law for 14, 15 years and work for the Memphis Grizzlies now, director of business operations and external affairs.
Oh, see, now that is a very quintessential Memphis story.
Yeah.
You done viewed Memphis at all different levels. So um we'll start at the beginning. It says that you grew up in Whitehaven and you
Hmm.
ended up going to high school at Overton, being an Overton Wolverine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Watkins,
what,
Overton.
how was that? Like, because myself, I grew up in Whitehaven and I ended up going to White Station. So it's like you go to school in one part of town, but you live in a completely different other part of town. Like, what
Yes.
was it like for you when you were growing up?
So born in Whitehaven, we moved around the time I went to junior high school, moved to Hickory Hill.
Mhm.
And then my school was in Wooddale, really, at the time. And but I and my dad wanted me to go to White Station. But I didn't want to. I wanted to go to Overton because all of my friends from Colonial were going to Overton and they had the dance program. So um, used a few of my, only daughter methods to get my way, and then tried out for the Kappa program. Really, really enjoyed it. Creative. I grew up dancing. I was tap, jazz, ballet, African, any kind of dancer you could think of, and then started being a cheerleader in junior high school. So all of those things were really, really important to me. And Overton had a dance program that I could get to, and by the time I got to high school, it wasn't far from my house. So
Mhm.
and most of my friends had migrated to Overton. Either Overton or Central was where most of my friends that had gone to Colonial with me were going. And I didn't really want to go to Central either.
I never really wanted to go to Central. Like growing up in Whitehaven, my district school was Hillcrest, and my mama was never going to send me to Hillcrest. There was going to be
Yeah,
nothing in the world that could ever happen to make me go to Hillcrest. So I ended up
yeah,
at Colonial, and then from Colonial to White Station, and that's actually that in itself is something that I don't think we talk about a lot as Memphians. Is like that middle school, high school transition because
yes,
like even in Whitehaven, people go from Havenview, John P. Freeman to Whitehaven. You don't
yeah,
really go for other places. Like a lot of kids from Colonial go to from Colonial straight to Overton. A lot of because of the Kappa program and the performing
yeah.
arts that they have. But there's always a little select few that change their mind and go to the best high school in the city of Memphis, which is White Station High School.
Well,
Uh,
listen, the tears I shed to make sure that I did not go to White Station, I'm gonna have to argue with you about that. But I
That's
did. I
good,
had a lot.
man.
I had quite a few friends who went to White Station, so it was fine. But at the time, I just wanted to continue dancing. I really thought that dance was gonna be like my career goal. So
Oh, I definitely when I went to I just knew I was gonna be the next Denzel Washington. I was like, yep, I'm about to
okay,
go kill. I'm about to go to Kappa drama at Colonial, be
yeah,
the star of every play. I'm about to kill it. Then I was like, you know what? No, this isn't for me. I'm gonna stick to this academic athletic route
yeah.
because drama wasn't for me anymore. All right, so you finish at Overton and you go to U of M. Why did you choose the U of M? Why didn't you leave the city? Why did you choose
So
U of M?
I'll say this. My plans were to leave the city. Um, I wanted to go to Emory. It was way too expensive. Um, and I got a scholarship to LSU, and they have a pom squad. Their pom squad was good, And so I was like, okay, let me look into this. So I decided that I was going to go to LSU. But around the time I was a sophomore, junior in high school, my mom got sick. She had tuberculosis. And I didn't know how bad it was affecting her as a child, that your parents don't tell you things like that. So until I started kind of paying attention, the selfish teenage daughter, like, kind of bagged up and looked and realized that my mom wasn't doing well. So I didn't want to be far from home. So I ended up deciding to stay at Memphis. And it was funny because I was saying, I'm not going to the University of Memphis. Everybody just leaves. Nobody goes anywhere. Everybody just stays here. I'm not going to the University of Memphis. But all through high school, I had been part of all these programs that get you scholarship money if you reach certain milestones, and you can use it for any state school. So I had the opportunity, I knew, to go to the University of Memphis, and so I filled out the applications, I did all the stuff, but I had no intentions of going to the University of Memphis until about midway through my senior year. And I realized that I didn't want to be far away from home until I knew that my mom would be okay. And so I ended up staying at Memphis, and I'm glad I did. That is one of the things, though, I think about, like, what if you had there was a time you could have left, what would you have done differently? But I don't know that I would have, because I just really, really loved my experience at the University of Memphis, both undergrad and law school. Like, I wouldn't have wanted to, no, I love my line. Like, I'm a Delta, I crossed at the University of Memphis. I wouldn't have, I can't imagine going through that experience with somebody else, right, with other people. Same thing as law school. Like, I met one of my best friends, and two of my best friends in law school, and I don't know that my life would have been the same had I not gone to Memphis. So while sometimes I think should have gone out of town for something, I can't. There's no way I could determine what that would have been.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's something that I think about a lot, even in my own life. Is like, yeah, if I didn't go to so my final schools were like MTSU in Arizona, and I just knew I was going to MTSU. I was ready to go to MTSU. We had played in the state championship for 3 years. I was always on MTSU campus. Like, my aunt lived in Murfreesboro, so, like, had an aunt in Murfreesboro, aunt in Nashville. Like, had the people. I was going to MTSU. And then the Arizona thing happened. It's like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna go to Arizona. So I always wondered, like, what it would have been like if I went to MTSU. Would I have pledged Alpha? Would I have done this? Would I have done that? So, you look at your life and how it turned out now, and, like, you know what? I'm pretty happy with the decision.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Yeah.
So, like, you talked about those things that kept you here. What did you learn about yourself at the U of M?
So quite a few things. I learned that I'm not as much of a loner as I always thought that I was. Being on the Palm Squad, and then pledging Delta, and being on the Palm Squad at the University of Memphis, being on the Palm Squad for the Oilers, pledging Delta, all those things required me to spend a lot of time with a lot of people all the time. And so in high school, cheerleading practice was this certain amount of time, but I spent a lot of time by myself, and I've gotten to the point where I was sure, right, like, that I just should not be around other people a lot in unnecessary settings, right? But then, being around the Palm Squad and being around and all of these women, it was just kind of like, oh, okay, this isn't so bad. So it taught me that I wasn't as, because I'd grown up with the stuck up tag, a lot. And it was because I didn't know how to translate in large groups, right? But in high school, junior high school and high school, is all about the large group, right? Like, whose lunch table has the most people, who's all of these things, where, and I'm more like, too many people. So I'm always off to the side. And it helped me learn how to navigate those two sides of who I am, because I do need that alone time, but also I have these great large groups of friends that I love to spend time with. But fortunately, because I started learning about that, I was able to I better articulate it with my friend groups.
So you found out that you like people, is what you're saying?
Yeah, people work. I can dig it.
People are cool. I can dig.
Yeah, cool.
So speaking of people, Memphians are a special breed.
Yeah.
So the
Yes.
people of Memphis, like, I mean, I don't want to like, I don't know if the question is like, who is your favorite person, but it's like you've been in Memphis for a long time, so you've come across a lot of different people, a lot of different type of people. Like, if you had to describe the people of Memphis, how would you describe them?
Oh gosh. So, I mean, we are flashy, and we are hilarious. Like I, people watching has long been one of my favorite things to do. So, we are resourceful is a word that I would like that I like to use for us.
Mhm.
We're gonna and I say the term get over, but I don't mean get over in a negative way, right? But we're gonna make it happen, whatever it is. That's the
Regardless.
Memphis way, right? And so, um, one of my favorite people, or one of the things that I would love to do, was watch Rayford at Rayford's, right? Like that to me, the costume changes and that that to me is Memphis, right? Like, let me show you, and then but I got something else to show you. And another thing, I got something else to show, and I just loved everything about going in that space. It just made me feel so at home.
Dog, like I had a friend who went to college in Atlanta that moved here, and she was talking about how, like, at the beginning of the year, you can always tell who was from Memphis because the way we dress, they're like
Yeah,
Memphis gonna be matchy matchy. The
yes.
shirt gonna match the shoes. Gonna be a piece of color in the shirt that's gonna match the shoes, and then like just kind of the way that Memphian they carry themselves. Like, yo, I knew you were from Memphis. I've even got that before.
and
Uh,
and and that we make sure that it's known. Like my friend from Nashville, she'll tell me all the time, like, Candace, okay, we get it. Like, you're from Memphis, you don't have to wear it all the time. But I do. Like, whenever we travel, I need to make sure that people know where I'm from, so
yeah,
that you don't play with me, and so that because and then that starts conversation. Like, oh, I love Memphis. When I came there in '80 something something. It's such and such restaurant still there, and it's like. It's just a great conversation starter because people really do love the city when they've been here to visit.
it's always about the. I always tell people when that happens, like the first question, barbecue. So like
Yeah.
you always bring the food up, and then that just gets people going. So I actually that question just kind of popped up in my head. That wasn't on my list. It's just that's just how good I am. Um, So let's talk about the career path. You said, you started in law and you ended up with the Grizzlies in this very important title that I just forgot. Um,
You're fine.
so tell us how that all started.
Um, eh, a very Memphis story. I I was looking to change my career path. I had been thinking about changing it for a couple of years, and got to a point where I recognized that I wasn't happy with what I was doing at all. And you know, when you're an attorney, one of the things you need to do is to bill. And so, having had a conversation where it's kind of like, you know, these bills aren't going to be collected but they belong to someone else, so they can make that decision. But you need to bill, this amount of money. I don't really want to do this, and so if that's my option, or if that's what needs to happen at this point, then let me look for something else to do. So I started looking for another job, still employed, obviously, but, trying to figure out what steps to take next. And decided while I was looking that I didn't even want to practice law anymore. Um, but I had to kind of mentally deal with that because it had become such a part of my story, right? Candace the lawyer. It was, how Memphians do. What
Mhm.
you do becomes who you are, right? So, um, but once I realized that I didn't care about that, I started looking for jobs that would help me figure out what I cared about. And so I tell people all the time, I'm a very practical person. So I decided to sit down and make a list. And so it was a list of things that I care about. And one of the things that came up on that list was Memphis. And then, a list of things that I would like to do. If I could get paid money to do something, what would it be? And, enhancing the city of Memphis in some way was on the list. So then I was like, okay, you got this master's degree. What companies will help you do these things? So I just started applying to different companies that, if you're here, the names of these companies, you see them. If you participate in any philanthropic anything, you know that they're always helping and always doing, the AutoZones, the FedExes, the Nikes, St. Jude, Grizzlies, Methodist, right? So I just started finding open positions in their marketing department, whether it was entry level or, whatever, and applying for them. At the same time, I became active in my alumni association at University of Memphis for the MBA. And so they had invited me to a speaking engagement that Jason Wexler was the speaker at. And so I went to that, made myself introduce myself to him because, again, people. And he had kind of started the same path. He had been an attorney. He had changed, career paths. So talked to him about that, asked him if he had any advice about it. Went home, looked to see if the Grizzlies had any open positions, and there was a marketing position. So I started applying for it. Well, it's not the easiest process. So a friend of mine called me one day and asked me what I was doing. And I was like, finishing this application for the Grizzlies. And she was like, I didn't know you were trying to apply for a job at the Grizzlies. Here goes to Memphis. My sister-in-law is over HR at the Grizzlies. And, and tell me what the position is, and I'll see, if it's open, if it's still open. And so she checked back and she's like, that position has already been filled. They're just waiting on the letter to come back. But she said, send her your resume. If anything comes up, she'll shoot you a message. Maybe a week later, she emails me. Hey, this position hasn't been posted yet, but we're about to post a position for Jason Wexler's assistant. I think you would be good for it. It doesn't meet your salary requirements, but I think you would be good for it. Would you be interested? And I was like, get me an interview. And then that's how it happened. I went in for the interview. He remembered me from the event. We had a great conversation. And I knew when I left the building that day that it was my job, right? Because it connected me when I looked up who I would be working with as I was working for him, the different ownership groups. Every one of the organizations that I put on my list of philanthropic people, like the ownership group of the Memphis Grizzlies represented that. So I knew immediately, like I put this into motion, writing my list and saying what I was looking for. And then in the most Memphis way possible, it all just came around full circle.
That is such a Memphis story. Just how it be. I mean, you dropped so many things in there that I need to mention. Though, like one of the things that you are much better than me, because after I got my master's, and if I had a master's and I've practiced law for however long, I'm not taking entry level nothing. Ain't no way I'm going entry level for nothing. But the fact that you like, you know what? If this is what I want to do, if this is how it has to be, and I can guarantee you that kind of good karma and that kind of thought process help lead you to where you are. Because like maybe at one point you might have looked at that marketing job, I'm like, that was way beneath me. I ain't even going to apply. And so the conversation with your homegirl wouldn't even matter because you wouldn't apply for it. But to be able to think like that and say, I'm gonna just do what I got to do and figure it out, and boom, and it just leads you into that. It's crazy.
So because a lot of the time, and you're absolutely right, because I had friends who were looking at me like, are you seriously applying for, and one even asked me, are you going through a midlife crisis? And I was like, no, I promise I'm not. I felt like I knew I needed to learn, and I needed to go somewhere that I could learn about business in a way that would get me to the place where I needed to be. I know myself, and when I really do put my energy behind something, I'm gonna make something happen, right? So I knew that I wouldn't be doing entry level anything for law. My interview and the conversations in my interview made me 100% sure of that. And knowing that Jason Yeah, I've already said that Jason had an understanding of where I come from and my background and the different
Mhm.
things that I'd be able to do. I got my first promotion before the first year was out, so it wasn't something that I was thinking that I would be there. And plus, for me, being 100% transparent with you, having done the work that I was doing for as long as I did, and being the only Black woman attorney in the building, and being one of 5 women, the only Black attorney at all in every firm that I'd been at, I wanted a little break. I was okay with taking a little break. My brain and having to be that, represented. I didn't have to do that. I could take a little break, right? Like I felt like I deserved that a little bit.
Oh, I don't blame you, man. I tell people, working at the Grizzlies is a experience all in itself
Yeah.
because you working with a lot of different type of people, and a lot of them, like, I mean, are like in the same age bracket. So you got a lot of people just. It's almost like an extension of like college, if you think about it, because everybody is kind of getting in, learning what they can learn. Some are leaving, some are applying it and staying in other positions. So the Grizzlies is it's a good place. So if you don't mind, if you can, what exactly are your duties and your title now?
So yeah, it depends on the day. um, Director of Business Operations and Internal Affairs is the very long title that it takes me a long time to say. But I work with a lot of the business operations departments over there. So arena operations, human resources, community engagement, and some with sponsorships, and kind of helping connect with some of our external stakeholders, the city, the county, different community organizations that maybe we work with, maybe we are looking to work with. We're finding ways to try to be good citizens of the city. And so it's a position that was created for me at a time where I've been moving around a little bit these different departments, working with them on different things. Making sure our building was being used in a way that we can benefit the city and county. Making sure that staff was feeling involved and included in different things, and that we were having events, and making sure that our community engagement department met the people that they wanted to meet in ways that I could do the groundwork, and then say, this is the information you need, set up the programming that needs to be set up, right? Like, so a lot of the benefits of being a Memphian and being able to make connections benefited me in this position a lot.
No, there you go. That sounds you're very important. You're a very important person. Uh, I say it all the time. I'm just happy to know you. Happy to call you a friend. So we're gonna take it back a little bit because you mentioned the Palm Squad at U of M.
Yeah,
In,
go
in
Tigers.
your in reading the profile, you said one of your favorite memories is being on the field when U of M beat UT.
Yeah.
So what was explain that?
Whew.
Set the scene.
So I mean, I've already told you that I was learning to be around people. So football games were always, anyway, a little bit stressful for me. We got there really early. We would be on the field warming up, taking pictures, doing whatever. This UT game was specifically difficult because it was cold. It was cold, so we had just gotten these new leggings, and they were these blue U of M blue leggings. And so Sherry, I was on the Palm when Sherry Ganong was still the coach. We had our Palm uniform on. Sherry decided that instead of the skirt, we would just wear the leggings and the top. But because apparently UT's Palm Squad or cheerleaders did this thing where every time the team scored, they would do that number of push-ups. So as a prank type thing for the first time, um, she decided we were going to do that. So we ended up doing a lot of push-ups. Don't like push-ups. And then we ended up where we had to take our sweatshirts off whenever we were going to be on camera. So I'm freezing, and in my mind, I'm knowing that I'm getting cursed out when I get home, because if my mama sees me on TV with these leggings and this little shirt on, she's gonna be like, "What kind of fool are you to?" So all of this is going through my mind. I'm freezing. I'm mad. I'm not a football fan. I'm paying attention to what's happening, and I see the energy that's going on in the stand, and I'm like, "Are we about to win this game?" And so you think, and we're right by the student section, right? You see these influx of people like going absolutely crazy. And so then by the time we're doing the last sets of push-ups, I'm like, we are about to win this game. So the police come and kind of crowd around. There were maybe like 3 officers that came, and they were like, y'all get together. And the next thing I know, I'm being pushed onto the field by the police, trying to make kind of like a circle around us. My eyes might have been like this big on my face at the time. And so people were climbing. We were down there, down by the end zone. People were climbing and pulling the goalpost apart. Reporters were. I'll never forget. I was right on the field, and his name's not Mike McGee. I feel like Mike McGee was. But anyway, there was a reporter interviewing him right there at where we were, because I'm just fascinated by all of this. And then my next thought was, wait a minute, where's my bag? Because people are just, it was complete chaos. So I did kind of stop, like, this is amazing. I'm actually out here while this is happening. But there was so much fear because the number of people that were coming over the gate or whatever, like, it was chaotic.
That is a very dangerous when kids storm the court or storm the field, it's just dangerous. And then if you don't, because I imagine where y'all were, like, you don't know which direction they coming from. It's a bunch of people, everybody getting pushed, some people getting trampled.
It was chaos. And and the other thing is not knowing how we're going to navigate out of there. I don't even remember, like, we had to wait, right? Like, you have to wait until they clear all of this other stuff off. And I'm still like, where's my bag? Because I'm cold too. Like, remember, I'm half naked. Like, all of these things going on in my head. And I was like, and I'm saying to myself, like, I am going to be in so much trouble when I get home. Like, I should not. If this is a position where you shouldn't put yourself in that position. Like, I was going to hear that talk. And I absolutely did.
He said, "Mama, there was nothing I could do." I mean, the coach said it. The coach said
it. Well, if you get pneumonia, I hope the coach, blah, blah, blah. Just like, whatever, fine.
I didn't know we were gonna win the game. We ain't beat them folk in years. How we gonna know they gonna win?
I was like, wait, what's happening? We're winning? Oh, okay. And then I started seeing these people. I was like, this isn't gonna end well.
No.
But it was a great experience. Like, I'm, to have been there. I'm glad that, it was safe. I obviously I made it out. So it was fine. I wish I had got a piece of goalpost though, but I didn't, I wasn't recognizing what was going on in that moment.
You were trying to save yourself. You weren't thinking about no goalposts at the time.
Yes.
You brought up something, and it's like probably my second to last question. You brought up the feeling of being the only Black woman in an office, right?
Yeah.
In your law career. And I guess the question, like, what does it feel to be a Black woman growing up in Memphis, is too broad. But like that's the question. Like, being a successful, educated Black woman in Memphis, like, how do you navigate Memphis with that? I guess that's the question. I don't even know how I asked the question right, but like, just being a Black woman in Memphis, what's it like?
I grew up very aware of my Blackness and the difference in certain places as far as being Black. I went to, so it wasn't new to me by the time I got to the law firm. But it was just heavier on me because of the responsibilities. So when I went to, I went to Colonial and Overton, but going back, my elementary school, I went to Harding Academy on Holmes Road, and then Word of Faith Christian Academy on Sharp. So I went from an all-white Church of God in Christ or Church of Christ school that was in Whitehaven to an all-Black Southern Baptist church-affiliated school for 3 years each. So being the only Black girl in my kindergarten, first grade class, but not understanding that, when I go back home to my neighborhood, there's very few white people in my neighborhood, right? In my apartments that I lived in Whitehaven. So learned pretty quickly how to navigate, and probably what the kids call code switch. Learned really early how to do those things. And then, by the time I got to junior high school and high school, there was such a mix of diversity that I didn't deal with that again until law school.
Yeah.
So I say that to say I'm probably very comfortable in anywhere I go. I'm very comfortable in all circumstances, because at this point, there's really nothing that I haven't experienced, right? Like, there's no room that I haven't had an opportunity to be in where I don't feel comfortable. I'm fortunate in that regard, because I don't feel the imposter syndrome that a lot of times I know, having talked to other, professional Black women, both older and younger than me, where that's a part of the way that they feel. And I only say that because, from the time I first started learning how to, coexist with other people, I was a part of a community that was different than me. So I learned how to exist and establish and recognize that my presence was necessary and that my skill set was needed, and those things. So I've been able to advocate for myself in a way, just based on that, understanding that whether you know it or not, and this is kind of how and Jamal, this from working with me, the little bit of time that we work together, whether you know it or not, you need me to do these things. So I'm gonna do them. And then, one of the best pieces of advice my aunt gave me a long time ago: don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness, right? Like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna set this up. I'm gonna talk to this person. I'm gonna put these feelers out there. I'm gonna tell you about it. And if I went too far, okay, but at the end of the day, as a person who understands the people here, and a woman who has experienced, so many different options and opportunities here, I'm gonna go with my instinct every time, and I just feel like my experiences have given me the ability to do that. So I don't necessarily, like, I love the opportunities. I love the ability to be in the room, and I love that I have the ability now to help bring other people along. And so that's, I think, as a Black woman navigating this space, the ability to support and enhance and engage other Black women, to make sure that I'm not always the only, because I know that in this city especially, our opinion is needed. Our value is great. So the more, the merrier. And that's why whenever somebody reaches out and says, I want to talk to you about XYZ, or your story is fascinating to me, let's talk about it. Yeah, because I want to hear yours too. Because if there's an opportunity, for me to do something for you, then I'm 100% and absolutely going to do that.
Hey, trust Black women. That's the motto for 2021.
Yeah.
So we're gonna end with a few of your favorite. Actually, a few favorites. What is your favorite local restaurant?
McEwen's.
McEwen.
They're not open right now. I love McEwen's. It's they use local food. It's a very simple yet tasty and consistent menu. Shout out to McEwen's. I can't wait for them to open back.
They are really good. What did I have there one time? I had for lunch. I think I got like the meatball sandwich, something really good.
Yeah.
All right. What's your favorite Memphis song?
Ooh.
The artist can be from Memphis. It doesn't necessarily have to be about Memphis. No, the artist can be from Memphis. Whatever. Your favorite Memphis song.
So I'm gonna go with Oh, that's a hard one for me. I'm gonna go with 8 Ball MJG coming out hard. Space Age Pimpin'. Space Age Pimpin'. Yeah, Space Age Pimpin'.
Can't go wrong with you know what I'm saying? I'd be obliged if you stepped outside.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
that is the classic Memphis song. And so to end it, the last question on the survey was, you know, fill in the blanks. You know, the M made me blank because of blank. And you said the M made me ambitious because we're always the underdog. We're doubted and overlooked. I've heard it said that Memphians are born with a chip on the shoulder, and I'd say that's true. So
yeah.
I don't even know if you got to explain that, because I do believe everything. I agree with everything there. Like, we are a special breed of people. And that's why we started this, to tell the stories and get the stories out. So, like, what's the future? What's next for Kandace Stewart?
I got it. Oh. So it's happening now. Whatever it is, the future is now for me. I'm getting to the point where I am allowing myself, almost making myself say yes to things that make me uncomfortable, like this. I am removing I am moving out of the shadows. I have been, you know, a behind the scenes voice. My fingerprint has been on lots of things that nobody will ever know, right? Because that's the way that I operate. That's the way that I've preferred to live. But you know, for the last 6 or however many months, that has not necessarily been the way that the universe has wanted me to live. It's like, no, you need to be the interview. You need to do this. You need to go here. So I am putting myself out there. I am, you know, like I said, coming out of shadows. I am taking ownership of things that I do. So that is what's next for Kandace, and that's what's going on now. So I don't know exactly what it's going to lead to, but I have gotten to the point where I'm unattached to the outcome. So because I know whatever it is, it's going to be, it's so much bigger than anything that I could have imagined anyway, which is what always happens. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to finding out what's next for Kandace as much as you are.
Well, I can tell you one thing. I am very glad that you are stepping out of that comfort zone and you're getting a little bit more front facing and letting people know exactly the powerhouse that you are and the things that you have been doing. So I appreciate you taking some time out and talking to us here about At the M Made Me, about your story. And hopefully we'll continue to see growth from you and the city, and we will all be in this thing kicking it together for a good minute. So Kandace Stewart,
sure.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's it.